Hey folks, how's it going? Wow, this is interesting, isn't it? You can see me in full. I look like a ghost because of any kind of lighting whatsoever. You can see like all kinds of shit. You can see my bed. You can see uh Lego on top of the wardrobe right there. But that's not what we're here to talk about. I don't know. I thought it'd be nice if I was in full view just for the beginning of this video because this is a brand new series on Tuesday. Build showcase. I mean, obviously, this is probably something you're quite familiar with. The concept of builds is very attached to Deeprock. Anyone who cares about balance or the meta in any capacity makes builds with some amount of deliberation, some intention. Most people, I don't think, are haphazardly throwing builds together, especially if they've got like every weapon or every overclock, like I do, which makes creating, showcasing builds not well, it's less simple, but easier than if you don't have everything. So keep that in mind. I do have everything. I do have every weapon, every upgrade, every overclock. You might not have the freedom to create these builds, but I know a lot of people do have a lot of overclocks. So, for example, today is an engineer build. If you're an engineer main, actually, it's not like you have an increased chance of having all the engineer overclocks because you know how percentages work. Chances are you're less likely to get an overclock for your main class than not, because that's just how percentages work. It's pretty much as simple as that. Anyway, you clicked on this video because in the thumbnail you saw Psycho Overload and Volatile Impact Reactor, Warthog and Shard Diffractor, Magma Hog. That's what we come up with. Not that in this case the two weapons are that intrinsically linked. And I will now show you, switch to in-game. Oh, I had a little bit of hiccup there. I didn't think the face cam would be frozen when I made it smaller. Either way, here's the build, here's the guy. He doesn't look like much of a Magma Hog. I think the name is maybe slightly misplayed. I've come up with names for a lot of these builds that I'm going to be showcasing in the future across the next, however long it takes. And honestly, the names are actually the most annoying part of this. So you can ignore the name if you want. Just know this is a build that uses Cycle Overload on the Warthog and Volatile Impact Reactor on the Shard Diffractor. So let's just go through quickly each part of this build, and before we jump into some actual gameplay. So the Warthog occupies this pretty weird space where it's arguably the most simple weapon in the game. I mean, the only thing that's stopping it from the only thing that's making the Sabata more complex is that it has, something like explosive reload. But at the same time, you do have turret whip on the Warthog, which gives it, very strong AoE, but it still relies on the turrets. If you take the Warthog on its own, it sort of occupies this sort of strange sort of mid-range, single target damage, but low DPS weapon, where it's kind of good against everything, but it's not good at necessarily killing big targets quickly, and it's also not necessarily good at getting through, doing a lot of AoE damage, because by default it doesn't do any. Psycho Overload sort of takes that first part and sort of bumps it up to 11. You have increased damage and fire rate, which in the context of a shotgun, obviously increasing the fire rate is fantastic. You get a big bonus, but if you increase the damage by 1, that's the damage of every pellet. In this case, when you have 8 pellets, it's actually plus 8 damage. Wait, hold on. Is that right? I feel like an idiot. Is that right? Put it this way: the damage in this case, from like every pellet goes from 64 to 72, and our fire rate goes up by a lot. Especially when we take the full auto mods in tier 5, which in the case of Psycho Overload, that's what you want to be using. My love for Psycho Overload is a very recent development, and I think it was sort of hampered by me trying to pair it with turret whip when that's really not what you're meant to do. Psycho Overload doesn't feel good when you're tap firing something that has a shitload of recoil. So we take minor adjustments to make it automatic, and it just sprays so quickly that the recoil almost becomes negligible, especially at very close range. If you're right behind a Dreadnought or a Praetorian or an Oppressor, you don't notice that recoil that much, and it's still usable. It's still very usable mid-range. You just need to control it a bit more. Increasing the spread can lead it to not necessarily having the same damage output at mid-range as another Warthog build might. Wait. Of course, Psycho Overload comes with an increased reload time as well, so we don't compensate for that. Oh, well, actually, we compensate for it. We don't directly counter it, though. You would directly counter it by taking reduced reload time. I compensate for it by taking increased magazine size. So, especially when you get through ammo so quickly, having the minimum magazine size, the base magazine size of 6, feels really tiny. You want increased magazine size. You don't need the increased rate of fire. It feels, kind of cool, but it's literally like you have a burst gun that gets through the entire magazine just like that. In this case, it's not quite that, because we don't have the maximum potential rate of fire, but we do have a slightly increased magazine size. So it just feels like you have a bit more to play with, and you really don't feel like it's still a very quick rate of fire, right? You also take more ammo. I think this is kind of preference. If you take more pellets instead of ammo, you'll definitely notice that you have less ammo. I'm just more of an ammo. I like to have as much ammo as possible usually, and I really haven't broken that habit. But I have tried this before. Actually, was it? I think it was Lazy Maybe who suggested a very similar build to this. Although, just to save myself, I did come up with it before I saw that video. So there's no plagiarism here. But he took the pellets, not the ammo, and I tried that first because it was originally a modified version of this build. This was the original version of it until I switched to Psycho Overload. But I tried it with the pellets first, and I really, really didn't like it. I just felt like I had absolutely no ammo, and in my opinion, you don't quite have enough. You feel very strong, but it doesn't feel consistent. It doesn't feel like you're always going to be at 100 because your chances of running out of ammo are just so much higher. And I don't think you actually meet any meaningful breakpoints. As far as I know, it still takes the same amount of shots to kill certain things. You take the pellets, and that to me is sort of the deal breaker, where it's like it's actually just as effective with the more ammo, but I have more ammo, so it's actually more efficient. And obviously, do not take choke ever. Really, it's probably the worst upgrade in the game. Well, it's not a good upgrade, right? When you see what it's competing with, I almost think the pellets is a pretty bad upgrade when you see what it's competing with. Only excused when you take lightweight magazines or mini shells, and really only mini shells. I don't take increased pellets, but we do of course take decreased recoil, because without this, you really can't control it, right? You really do need this. Like the recoil that gets added, or the increased base spread, is crazy, and you need the recoil to help you. It helps control that. Obviously, choke would actually decrease the spread. Having the decreased recoil helps you control it yourself, which is, it's not necessarily better, but we need that more ammo more than we need that accuracy, because we're using this thing not using this thing at anywhere over mid-range anyway. So don't worry about that. Tier 5 is definitely a choice, by the way. Tier 5 is absolutely a choice of what you want. Because armor breaking on the Warthog, sorry, not the Bulldog. On the Warthog, armor breaking is absolutely fantastic. It works a treat. It makes it feel better against just about everything except, well, there's a few things it doesn't quite work against. This build doesn't always feel great against Brundles. But really, when you take armor breaking, it's so you can do more damage on body shots. And I think in the context of Psycho Overload, there's an argument that that's better. Because you're just not as accurate, which means you're probably less likely to hit all of your pellets into a grunt's face. And it also means you can spray into a horde a little bit more, which is arguably, not even arguably, that's definitely one of the reasons why I use Psycho Overload, is because you can clear up things quite quickly. It's not AoE, but you can get through quite a few enemies quite quickly with it. But in this case, I do take increased damage, because the way I use it is quite up close, especially when it comes to bigger targets. If I'm using this against a Praetorian or an Oppressor or a Dreadnought, I'll be right up, basically touching them. So there's very little chance, or if not, no chance, of any of my pellets missing. So I want to maximize damage when you're not shooting against armor, which in that case you're not. So that sort of covers the Warthog. Before I move on to the Shard Diffractor, I sort of want to give give you a general understanding of the point of this build. So Engineer is strange because he's sort of he's not necessarily a combo class like Driller, and I think like Scout personally. I think Scout is quite relies on combos quite a bit. Entity doesn't rely on combos, but he does rely on making use of his entire arsenal simultaneously. Not necessarily because they have to work together in a extremely direct fashion. Like turret whip is that for the Warthog, but we don't need turret whip here. But you still want everything working in unison to provide the best result, which is sort of why we take things that we take in this instance. Everything here is sort of good against everything. And that sort of really is the point of this build. You really do, and this is something that I am echoing from Laser Maybe when he sort of proposed his sort of version of this. You feel strong against everything with this build. You really do, if you know what you're doing. Because, you know, I know some people don't quite get along with the Magma, the volatile impact reactor, and I understand why. And I have some issues with it personally as well. But in the context of what each aspect of this build is capable of, you don't actually have any weaknesses at all. And that's it doesn't mean you have the highest DPS possible, if you have the highest, you know, crowd clearing capabilities possible. It just means you don't have any weaknesses. And I think that's a pretty good place to be in. So let's sort of address that through the lens of like the other weapons or the other parts of the build, like the Shard Diffractor. Volatile Impact Reactor is one of my favourite overclocks in the game. It's definitely my favourite overclock for the Shard Diffractor. It is definitely, though, a sticky flame sort of light thing. Basically, it doesn't turn the terrain to magma. It sort of just puts magma on the terrain. Where you hit the terrain would benefit greatly from the Shard Diffractor being able to pierce through enemies, which still isn't a thing for some reason. Come on, go shit, what are you playing at? But it's the reason why it's so good is because it gives you this sort of AoE that, yes, it does rely on being put on the ground, but it's so effective at it's so efficient at crowd clearing, I should say. It's not necessarily quick, it's just extremely efficient. You do not need a lot of magma to set some grants on fire, and because it doesn't actually do a lot of damage, it's just good at setting things on fire. That means it's very good at spreading fire from enemy to enemy. I mean, you can get a lot out of very little, and when you have so much ammo, and you've got no reason to not take more ammo because your AoE has already been reduced. You're not relying on the Shard Diffractor's base AoE. And the single target, there is actually an argument there, I think. But at the same time, you're going to want to be laying magma down a bit more than you're going to want to be shooting things directly. So losing out on ammo when you're still going to be spending most of your time shooting the ground, losing out on ammo for single target damage isn't really worth it. Excuse the voice crack there. And it's also another reason why we do take soft tissue disruption, because of the way that the AoE is restricted to the magma. Radius doesn't help us here, but we can bolster our single target damage without reducing our ammo by taking soft tissue disruption. Because that's the best part about a volatile impact reactor. It retains the single target damage. You can still lay into a Praetorian or a Oppressor or a Dreadnought or a Grabber or a Bomber, anything that you want to do a lot of single target damage to, you can still do it. So we take soft tissue disruption to sort of bolster that and make it more worthwhile. Whereas particle spattering, is that what it's actually called? I never even read that before. Particle spattering. That's so stupid. God, I look like a ghost. So yeah, you do that, and then, but also one of the other drawbacks of volatile impact reactor is reducing your magazine or your charge capacity. Which, well, in this case, it is definitely a little bit dubious. I prefer magazine size because you do get a little bit more ammo, although in this case, you barely ever run out of ammo, so don't worry about that. But I'd just rather have more magazine size, so I don't have to stop. Just, you know, the 50 is always going to be enough. The 25 isn't necessarily. In the context of volatile impact reactor, I think other builds you might want a bit more magazine size, so you take something like efficiency tweaks, you know. But in this case, we don't. Tier 4. Nitrogen Vaporizer, I don't think we need it for what we're doing. You're either going to be shooting the ground or shooting weak points. So we take high intensity heating. So you just set enemies on fire quickly with direct damage, as well as with your... You're going to be setting a lot of things on fire, but that's basically the point here. Tier 5. Tier 5 is interesting because if you were taking, like the Stubby, for example, and hydrogen rupturing be viable, certainly, because you're slowing enemies down with the electricity. Biomass converter is not viable here because it doesn't work with the magma, and you shouldn't be killing things with direct damage in this case. You should be doing a good amount of damage if you like to like an oppressor. Do enough damage to set him on fire or whatever. But you shouldn't be lasering down grunts with the main attack in this case. They should either be dying to the magma, or you should be cleaning them up with your Warthog. So we take Dazzler module. Now, Dazzler module doesn't quite work with the magma, in my opinion, how it should. Right, where were we? Dazzler module. Right, so as I was saying, it's well, if we go back to square one, Dazzler module is a slowdown effect, a 1 second slowdown effect that can be infinitely refreshed. It's got no refresh cooldown, so which basically means an enemy is slowed down constantly while you're firing it, but it will still last for a second after being initially applied. You do get that, but in the context of volatile impact reactor, you're not doing a lot of sustained fire. When you are going for the single target thing, it can help because it actually slows down the rate at which an oppressor or a detonator turns around. So that's actually very useful. But obviously, we're not, when it comes to using the magma, you're not going to be slowing them down constantly. But the magma does apply its own slowdown effect, and within the AoE, it will still inflict the Dazzler module slowdown effect for a second, which means you can get the magma to be slightly more effective. And that covers the shard diffractor. Pickaxe, your choice. I don't think the pickaxe is that important when it comes to choosing mods and whatnot. It really just comes down to personal preference. I tend to go for recharge more often than not. Recharge or serrated edge, because you can do a shit ton of damage to oppressors with serrated edge. You can do almost half the health on hazard 5. So that's pretty good. Perks. Well, Thorns is just because you're an engineer. Stops the swarmers. Now, I take resupply with this build instead of Born Ready, which is what I normally take for engineer. That's because the shard diffractor reloads itself automatically, so the only thing we really need to focus on is the Warthog. And yeah, its reload time is increased, but when you have things like shredders on the field, you've got your turrets, you've got magma as well, you can live with having to reload one of your weapons. That's basically what it comes down to, because resupply is so useful. This build, apart from the Warthog, this build isn't very quick, I should say. I think that might be accurate. It's nice when your resupplies are more responsive and more useful. I don't know. It's not too specific to the build, but the perks aren't that important. The only ones I think are essential are Thorns, Vampire, because I think Vampire is just way too good to not have. I know some people are a little bit dubious on that, but I don't think there's much argument. I always take Vampire. Same with Dash and Heightened Senses. Heightened Senses is a solo thing, though. This is just me across the board. I always take Vampire, Dash, and Heightened Senses. Dash just helps you get out of dangerous situations, help you cross large gaps. I mean, that's it, but you can do that a lot, and it's really bloody helpful. And just for getting through the mission quicker sometimes. Heightened Senses changes to Field Medic when I'm playing with other people. That keeps it simple. But yeah, there's no build specific argument for Heightened Senses. That's just a general thing. What is build specific though is the LMG gun platform, although it's not actually that specific. I used to be like an evangelist for quick deploy, right? Building turrets faster is just so much more convenient and feels so much better. But if you can get over that and take the expanded ammo bags, you'll be doing so much better, trust me. Because you run out of ammo so quickly if you don't take this, or at least I find that I do. That might just be the hazard 5 talking, but still. I've learned to get used to expanded ammo bags. Expanded ammo bags in Gemini, you get the most turret ammo possible, which means the most total damage and DPS possible. With Defender system, and also stun, just for sort of keeping hordes in check. Sometimes stun annoys me, because Praetorians have a stun resistance, so it's never going to be the full stun duration. I don't know if people know this. This is why Praetorians turn around so quickly after being stunned, and why it's actually usually better to use something that doesn't stun them, so you actually have more time to damage them. It's because they have a resistance. They're only stunned for 80% of the normal time. Even then, I like it on the LMG, especially against Macteras and whatnot. Platform gun is not too relevant. On the original version of this build, the one with proximity mines, I should be using repellent additive because that's just so good with proximity mines. But in the context of volatile impact reactor, where you can sort of just paint the magma wherever you want, you don't necessarily need to guide the enemies that much. And I found that I just prefer the convenience of having a shit ton of platforms to be able to just carry out any traversal needs, you know. Shredders, well, obviously they have the novelty of being new, but I think they do work in the context of this build. They help it feel a little bit more lively, and they also give it an interesting gimmick of that you don't have any explosives, which is, that's conceptual, but it's still true. Hello. But yeah, I think the shredders do work very well for this. They help finish things off. That sometimes the magma doesn't actually catch all the grunts that you necessarily want, but you know, the shredders will take care of that. They'll do supplementary damage to everything. They're really good against Mactera. This build is fine against Mactera, you know, but you don't want to be as close as you need to be with the Warthog. The Shard Diffractor will mop them up pretty well, but I find myself not wanting to hold down the trigger that much when fighting Mactera with the Shard Diffractor, because I feel like I end up wasting a lot of ammo, and then the recharge time sort of gets in the way. So the Shredders are really great against Mactera. I still wouldn't consider Mactera a weakness of this build, but that is where the Shredders come into play, because proximity mines aren't great against Mactera. They can be very strong, but they're difficult to use because they have to be on the ground, and that's another thing. The build feels a little bit repetitive or sort of weighed down when you're using both volatile impact reactor and proximity mines. You're using the ground a lot and sort of just waiting for things to run into your source of damage, which where it can wear thin, that's why we take the shredders. I do honestly think they are the best choice for this build. Armor rig, not important. Just don't take bigger mineral bag. You don't need it. You just don't need it. Breathing room is always my go-to, but I mean, that's the build. Let's get into some missions. So I said that this build is like, you feel strong in just about every scenario, and I hold to that, but maybe I need to prove it. I'll start with a pretty simple mission, but I think next I want to do something like an escort duty or elimination with a warning. That would be nice, because yeah, it's even really good on elimination, because you know, you have great single target damage on both of your weapons, and you have the supplementary damage of the magma. Obviously you can't set the dreadnoughts on fire, but you Dapper Pines immediately. I wasn't expecting that, and I just realised that I need to be on top form with my gameplay right now. So just watch and learn, Earthworms.
Move your tin ass over here and hurry, please. Mine it.
Gold. Do we need gold? Should I be mining gold? Am I wasting time? Yes, I am. And I've just realised now that see, the reason I'm able to do this is because our Wi-Fi recently got quite a significant upgrade. So it's much easier to upload full-on gameplay footage, which means and that's something I've always wanted to do, is sort of Snowing Fate style. I saw that overclock reviews where he just plays with an overclock and sort of evaluates it in his way. I would do it in my way. I would also cover a lot of overclocks that he hasn't. He doesn't seem to care about the cleans, which I can respect, because cleans are pretty boring, but I would do the cleans, because I'm a man, and I don't ignore cleans.
I'm feeling poetic today.
Right, this looks like the right way to go. What is with the acid spitters?
What a jaw-dropping experience!
What the hell? What the?
Kill or be killed.
Any more? No. What's the press though? call for Magma? I think it might do. There you go. Yeah, I mean, I would call Guard a bit of a weakness of Volatile Impact Mixer because it does kind of struggle to set them on fire. If you draw a line in front of a Guard, it will handle it pretty easily.
What's this?
Ah, the constant interruptions of life. Oh, quite impressive. And that's how you do it. You set it on fire, then you just lay into it with a shotgun. Oh, hi.
And stay down, stinky.
Now, you might notice that I tend to run out of ammo on the shotgun quicker than I do on the shard diffractor. Now, I'm going to go this way, and I will. The progress is being hampered constantly. So I think I was talking about the Wi-Fi before. Yeah, it allows me to upload gameplay easier. Like just solid gameplay. And you can see in the shenanigans video, which just encompassed quite a few different games, sort of just showing it off really, pushing the limits. I'm hoping that I'll be able to do 2 missions. I mean, I will, but I'm hoping that it will upload in good time still. Now, I'm not going to take any risks whether or not this will summon a swarm. So that sounds like a lot of enemies. Hi, fellas. It wasn't that many.
Time to get busy, miners. Swarm
There we go.
detected.
Thought so. Let's look at my Buds code. Where is he? Oh, hi. Wait. Damn it.
They're here.
Preemptive shredders. I didn't see that as spitter and I suffered for it. Oh dear.
No more beasties incoming.
Or show.
Care of what is left, then have a breather.
I have no intentions of going down. Do it. One of the coolest things about the hollow bow, red sugar pockets. It's just there for some reason. Okay. Hope of that actually being a problem for once.
I called for the mule.
Bit more effector. This is where the increased heating and weak point damage on the shard diffractor kicks in. Wonderful.
Platform! Sentry gun needs assembling. Rock and roll! Just take your sweet time.
Oh, shit.
I've got all day.
That was weirdly timed. Oh, fuck. God, why is it so dark? It's like, it's just not that dark in my room as it looks. Let this be a listen to any up-and-coming YouTubers, such as myself. Lighting is... You don't get good lighting without paying for it. Where is this damage coming from? I did not feel like I was in range of those loaders at all.
Like these things weren't bad enough alive. Stupid stabbervine. Shoot it! Hate to wait for that charge. Platforms placed. Feel much better now. Deep Rock seriously need to invest in some better equipment.
Not doing great on Nitra. I didn't even realise.
We got contact miners. Swarm headed your way.
And I got the second swarm. Well, this is supposed to be a test.
One platform ready to use.
Swarm? It's a big one, team.
The power of dash. Right. Where is anything? That's an elf. Get the shredders.
Shredder swarm deployed. Flares ain't ready.
Why is Molly going over there?
Call for Molly.
What's that all about then?
Think you could kill me? Well, think again. Eat it!
You're almost through the wave, team. Go, go.
Red 5 on fire!
Not for the sake of frame rate. But at least 50.
We got the oppressor!
And even if this gameplay is hard to watch because I'm sure I can upload it, but it doesn't mean my laptop because yeah, I do use my laptop.
Down the
Spoilers.
I ordered a resupply.
Can't handle it. Like at 60 FPS. At least you can take the build recommendation. I give you some, reasons for why you should use it, as I did.
You carry a load well.
And that's the
Molly.
important part, really. Anyway.
Time to restock. Reloading. Getting more ammo. Die, you double-jointed freak.
So funny thing is that oftentimes drawing L's, like like this is actually usually the most effective way to get the most enemies fought in the magma.
Glyphid Praetorian eliminated. Go! Get to work! Platform up! Come here! Platform! Come here, you flying tin can!
Secondary objective completed. Fine job.
My Buzzco.
Rockety rockin' stone!
Play Blisterbot is what it's called, I think. Right, an elf.
Bosco! Light! Molly is on the way.
Oh, they're all pouring in.
Consider this. Legally speaking, rocking is more legal than stoning. Eh? Eh?
I don't like that line. I don't know if anyone's noticed. We talked about it a little bit actually. A lot of the newer lines sound different. Like the voice actor is having more trouble. Difficult to pinpoint exactly how they're different, but we can tell there's a difference.
Covering fire!
You know, and I think it's not great because it's like you notice it sounds it doesn't necessarily. It's not that it doesn't sound like the dwarf, but it does sound different. It's like maybe that shouldn't be the case.
Reloading.
Right, so apart from that elf, we're done. So, all up to Bosco now. Well, not. I mean, I could get involved. Actually, you know what? I'm gonna cut to when we wrap up the actual mission because that's about as much showcase as this needs in an egg hunt. See how this goes. Am I gonna get cornered? Oh, I don't. Okay, space behind. Good.
Let's go get some pain. I need the mule right here, right now.
Right, so Bosco got the elf over there.
Drop pod inbound.
Extraction time.
Drop pod has arrived. The mule has been called back. Drop pod departing in T-minus 5 minutes.
Platform. Reloading.
Wonderful. Now, something that I wanted to try was like building like a bridge out and just like having enemies come to me and have to go through lava.
Platform's placed.
Now might not be the time, but whatever. Look at that gold. Gold! I love gold.
The mule is secured. Initiating launch sequence. Galactic thanks you for your good work. Drop pod will leave with or without you.
Yeah, I thought that might happen.
Pod departing
Okay.
in T-minus 4 minutes.
Probably why I haven't done it before. Because it's a bad idea.
On the books. Retrieving escape pod.
There you go, that was mission 1. I thought It felt a little bit longer than that, but I suppose that makes sense. And no, I haven't finished the performance pass yet. Not because I couldn't. Could. Easily. I don't want to run out of reasons to play Deep Rock until like we actually get some Season 4 news. Which we know won't be till next year. I pray to God that they've got some interesting plans. And things just aren't taking longer. Arbitrarily. So what did I say? I said I want to do an escort duty with a warning. Unfortunately, volatile guts will kind of trivialize that. So I definitely need to do something with a warning though, something a little bit more dangerous. And I don't count Lithophage Outbreak as a particularly dangerous warning. That would be Swarmageddon parasites. It might have to be that. I really want to push it. I ain't no coward.
Mission selected. Your chariot awaits, gentlemen. Move out.
I ain't no coward. Look at my Bosco. Isn't he beautiful? I don't know, man. I like Blisterbot. I didn't think I would. Pretty cool looking fella. Right, covered carcass. I could take a daily special, but what does that prove? Right. Nothing. Let's get to it. I mean, it's an interesting idea where I do a simple mission, then a double warning. And then, you know, the double warning isn't necessarily a deal breaker, but just to see how good I am with the build, maybe. Oh, out of these. Sorry, there was a poll on Reddit. It was like, which of these is your favourite Bosco framework? And it was like, but Blisterbot wasn't there. And honestly, I think Blisterbot might be my favourite. What the hell is that? Okay. I'm in a pit. That's a good start. Oh, not exactly in a pit. What? Ooh!
And we're expecting heavy resistance, so the lift has been equipped with heavy armaments. But keep focused. It's about the goods.
Gotta wait for the recharge.
Is that Nazi Spitter or Web Spitter? It must be Nazi Spitter. Quick it's shooting, yeah. Ain't no fool.
One platform, ready to use.
Get out of the pit. There's some turrets up.
I made a platform.
Right, the ultimate safe zone. That is the minehead. Right, Bosco.
Help me with the
Fire
minerals here.
box, please. The elf. That's why I just heard the elf.
Sentry gun needs assembly. It's past your expiration date. Done. Go get him, boy.
Actually, I didn't think about the fact that point extraction is one of the better ones for Tormageddon and arguably parasites as well. Your auto turrets. Is that what they're called? Just sentry gun. Wow, what an original name. They're sentry guns. They don't need an original name. That's not a dig. Or at least if it was a dig, I walk it back.
Another day at the office. Light for me, please. Go fetch. That one.
What are you still doing alive?
Your
I heard that.
I killed a loot bug, and I'm not so proud about it. Ah!
Come on, bro. Get you back into it. Thank you.
Die, monsters! Access provided.
Okay, I mean, this is really exciting stuff, isn't it? That warranted? I don't know. For anyone who didn't know, the shredders actually have a damage cap. I think it's 140. So they don't have health. They do have a duration though, and they also have a maximum amount of damage that they can deal before they deactivate.
Not ready. There's recharging. Eat it.
That was slightly unnerving.
Reload it. You ugly son of a bitch.
That should do him. Oh, don't just shoot the oppressor, please.
I hate nature.
That's why we need a sweeper. And to clear that up without it being an obscure reference, in the latest episode of the Overclock Workshop, which made a comeback, I actually did the sentry guns, engineer's turrets, and the clean overclock was called sweeper, and basically it made it so that turrets prioritized enemies with lower health, which I suppose would alleviate that, but something that I think should be added to Hawkeye system, because it's a Hawkeye system is like a fine but quite uncompetitive 50 upgrade. If it ignored armor, well, not ignored armor, but didn't shoot like invulnerable parts of enemies, or didn't shoot any while they're invulnerable, that would make it a lot more competitive, I think, with defender system, which I think it really is just a lot better. Hawkeye system isn't an offensive choice, but it's one of those things where there's a weirdly the disparity between the two is so great that it actually feels like it's more of a downgrade to take Hawkeye system than it is to take an upgrade with defender system. It feels like you should just be taking defender system, and if you're not, then you're making the turrets worse. It does feel that way, which is why I think a lot of people will probably agree with me that Hawkeye needs a buff.
Platforms, blades.
Okay.
One platform ready to use. Bring it, backers! Oh yeah! Come here, you flying tin can!
Okay, not bothered to get that one.
Ugh, never felt better.
Remember, guys, this is a double warning. You know, Oh God,
Die like your mother dead.
forgive me. Tell you what though, a weirdly common double warning is explode infestation and parasites, which is kind of funny because obviously those two problems. Well, the parasites sort of take care of themselves, or at least it's funny that parasites come out of the exploders when the exploders die, but obviously when the exploder dies. Yeah, you get the point.
No mule available. Gotta find another place to dump the mineral. Floor. Flares recharging.
Damn it. Right, let's go give me that. Get this one.
Come and get me, you disgusting bug!
Incoming! Smoke him if you got him.
And then we'll go on a journey up there.
Access
Dun
provided.
dun 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 dun. I can never like hum the Mission Impossible theme without it turning into Mortal Kombat. Like, what is that?
Bam!
Oh. Twitter like deposit, you say? Well, that's not getting done.
No flares ready. Beat
You know what?
like a crepe.
I'll give it a go. I'll give it my best shot.
Booting up the machinery.
Yeah. A bit odd, isn't it?
Help me,
I'll have to
mine.
grab one of these and let's leave.
Attack! Much better. Platform up.
I actually wasn't sure if I was gonna. No, I knew I'd survive it, but I knew it wasn't gonna be 100% safe.
Reloading. Resupply ordered.
Supply drop has been ordered and is on the way.
No way that secondary objective is getting done.
There's one for Carl. The resupply is here. Reloading.
Do-do-do-do-do.
Preserve your bullets. Booyah!
Meh. Little fucker.
Platform. Come here. I'm not scared of you. Depositing minerals.
Good lord.
glorious fall.
Quark mining. How thrilling. Right, what's going for that money?
Got it right between the eyes. Go, get to work. Let's get these lasers up and running. Be gone!
How did I get stuck in here? Like, got in here. That makes sense.
Get the lasers online so we can crack the tridolite deposit.
Combat positions. The swarm is here.
For Carl!
Return to base.
Red sugar!
That's delicious.
Bambo!
Oh, what the? I didn't know that was down there.
I made a platform.
Oh, is that actually where the other one ended up? Oh, it's not. Huh? Eh?
Reload it! Go for my
I minions.
Here! Have some extinction! I'm wondering if fighting bugs and moving dirt is the best way to make a living. Ready to kill some more crepes. I feel my lungs. Reloading! Ah! Moscow, come here! Depositing!
Well done. You got them all. Hit the launch controls to return the minehead. We'll send in the escape pod.
Don't waste your ammunition! Yeah!
Fareway. I'm absolutely taking resupply before I go up there.
Getting more
So
ammo!
I'm not counting on getting the secondary objective done, but I want to give that Tritterfight deposit a good go. Because I ain't a coward.
One sentry gun ready to be built. Eat lead! Die! Platform created. Armed and ready. lasers soften up the turn light just enough for the explosion.
The enemies aren't really going to stop coming. It's not like waiting would be helpful. That's actually a well-placed bomb dispenser.
We're sending in a nanite bomb dispenser for you. If those can't penetrate it, nothing will.
Shredders fantastic for just like posits because they just keep things off you by killing them. Like that wasn't close enough.
That's all you got, you slippery shit!
Wait, time for Shredder Swarm 2. Well, not yet. Now it is.
Shredders deployed!
This isn't really showing off the build right now. This is more so just showing off the shredders. So
Bring the pay! We did it! Let's infuse some core!
You did it. Core infuser active.
Eat it! Bring me the goods.
what am I gonna get? Oh, mineral canisters. I'm not gonna pick one. Fun fact: as long as you put a matrix core in, a black matrix core, you will get something. It'll just pick it for you if you don't pick. You'll get it when you go back to the space rig.
Flares! Recharging!
Anyway, like I said, I'm not counting getting the second objective done, but
Squash
I did just like deposit. Feels like I haven't seen a meteor in a while,
A repeat swarm.
and I like meteors.
Platform!
Leaving during a swarm is very dangerous. I'm doing it.
Einhad launched. We're picking up heavy activity in the vicinity to hold the line until the escape pod arrives.
Your history! One platform, ready to use. Rock and roll! Go lie down forever! Ammo taken. Yeah. Make every bullet count. Sentry off.
Good tunes. Seriously, like, this song is amazing.
Drop pod en route. Hang in there.
I still feel like I need to show you what this is like against bosses. So maybe we'll do elimination, but I'll skip to the fights.
Drop pod arrived and waiting for takeoff. Drop pod departing in T-minus 3 minutes.
Time to shred.
Heartless loot bug killing.
Extraction commencing. Good work.
Ugh.
These bugs don't stand a chance against us.
Well, that wasn't difficult. You know what? It's because of my build. The Magma Hog. Now, I don't know. I think it's great. I think it's just probably the best all-purpose engineer build I can really come up with. Showing you the caretaker fight might not be a bad idea either, but I can't quite be bothered to get to that. Also, my engineer's level 25 now, so I've got that to do.
Congratulations. Your excellent performance for Deep
Oh.
Galactic hasn't gone unnoticed. Management are
Yeah,
seriously
I hate these real world.
for promotion,
Right,
but you'll have to complete one final assignment.
show you a dreadnought fight. Back in a minute.
yourself and a
Detonator.
One sentry gun ready to be built. Rock and roll.
That's all of the blisters gone. Once blisters are gone, it just becomes a little bit slow, but you can still do it fairly efficiently.
Could need an upgrade.
No, I don't want to get caught in that.
You greasy meatball. Woo! We got it. Nice work, team.
What did that not set that off? Good lord. Okay.
One platform ready to use. Needs assembling. Sentry on.
Oh, good
One
lord.
sentry gun ready to be built. Sentry armed.
Please be normal one. Yes. Still my favourite. He's still my favourite. And look, so see in this case, the Magma's not going to do much to the Dreadnought, but it is still supplementary damage. You can just drop a single like spectral Magma beneath him, and it's just efficient. You know?
Eat it.
But Psycho Overload really comes into its own here.
Don't let him flank you. Bam!
Cool.
Time. Red. Reloading. Booyah! No flares ready. What's this?
Nice. See, that isn't too bad, does it?
Reload.
You don't need 2 resupplies to kill a Dreadnought. Right, let's skip to the next fight. Or maybe to the end of the mission. No, I'll show you the next fight because I think it's still fine, but I had a pretty bad time when I went against the Twins and a Hive Guard. Hold on, I've got to show you this.
Stand your ground. Give no quarter.
Watch them burn. Some men just want to watch the bugs burn. Master Wayne. So I think about 4 Praetorians just showed up out of nowhere. 4? Yeah, 4. I don't know what they're doing here. But, you know, lovely blokes. Ah! I'm freezing. Temp shock him.
Party one down.
How did that not set him on fire? Alright. Alright, who's next? Someone unpleasant, I assume. Because it's not the normal dreadnought. I find the update when they added the 2 dreadnoughts, the other 2, the Hive God and the Twins. Honestly, the best update they've ever done. I still find the normal dreadnought most pleasant to fight though. Ah look, it's the Twins.
Shredders deployed.
This is one of those instances where the Magma really doesn't come into play. When it comes to dreadnoughts, the Magma mostly comes into play for the Twins because of the... No, not the Twins, sorry. The Hive Guard because of the Sentinel. It's really good against them. But in this case, you're just using it for single target damage, really. The Magma's not going to do much to these guys. If anything.
Shredder swarm deployed. I need support. Damn flares could need an upgrade.
I'm actually going to try and kill the Arbalist first, which never normally happens. And it looks like it won't happen. Well, where are you, you yellow yob? There's the elf.
Shredder swarm.
They say platforms aren't useful in a dreadnought fight. Oh my! Are you serious?
Dreadnought's wiped out for now. Good work, team. Hit the return button on the mule when you're ready, and we will pick you up.
What's that elf? Oh, elf. Alright, well, that was a dreadnought fight. I'll meet you back on the rig. No, pause it. Now, this is a good deposit placement. Or a bomb defense placement, I should say. Just chuck it over the hill. Oh, where'd that one go? Eh? Anyway, me back on the rig. You know what, maybe I should show you the extraction.
Boom, baby!
I still believe in another use for this hang gliding mechanic.
This is my stop. No, the flares are recharging. Dash to open the pod base for the first round.
Yeah, maybe you didn't need sealers. It's not that exciting. Better go to work.
Value's been successfully retrieved. Make it snappy, team.
I'll put Magma on the ramp.
Forever. Retrieving escape.
Good man. Well, that wasn't mentally taxing at all. Actually, it wasn't. It was fairly succinct and easygoing.
We're awesome.
Wow. What do I got from the in the performance pass? It's just phasing on. There's not really much left I'm excited for. That's the problem. There is a little bit. It's getting a little bit empty. Like,
Time to upgrade my
yeah, I kind of want the weapon skin and the plate mask. Yep, I do. But apart from that, it's just weapon frameworks. I don't know. Get close. Game needs more frequent updates, I think. Doesn't necessarily need much more content than it is getting. It just needs more new stuff to be added more often instead of every 6 months. Anyway, that was Magma Hog, first build showcase of many to come. Hope you enjoyed. I hope I showed that. See, I was about to say I hope I showed a good use case for this build, but the use case is anything, and I hope I proved that this is, even if it's not your cup of tea, I hope I proved that this is a build that if you use it right, you can handle literally anything with a relative amount of ease. There really is no weakness here. It's pretty foolproof, unless you are a fool, in which case I have no sympathy for you. And well, there's not much more to it. I mean, you saw the build. I talked it through. I showed you. I could show you an escort duty or industrial sabotage, but frankly, I don't want to waste your time. I think I proved the point. I think I proved how good this build is. It's one of my faves. I really recommend that you use it. There's some little things here and there you can tweak. Like, for example, you can absolutely use armor breaking on this if you want. The grenades are kind of up to you. The perks are kind of up to you as well. Although I'd recommend. I think my selection's pretty foolproof as well. You can use repellent additive if you want. Sentries you can build however you want as well. It really just comes down to the weapons. And I do think the shredders are the best complement for this in terms of grenades. But apart from that, yeah, that really is it. I really hope you enjoyed. And if you did, please make sure to rock and stone. And by rock and stone, I obviously mean like and subscribe. We'll see you on Thursday for the podcast Christmas special. Anyway, this is Harry from Barrel Vision signing out. Peace.